shall we do a tier list? As I was asked to do. Now that I've played, all right, I'm gonna put this in here for SJ. All right, that's like a visual second content thing. Somebody asked me on Twitter, and it just made sense. I played 3rd edition this new season a bunch of times, a few times on TTS, a 5-round tournament, and a 3-round 3K tournament. And so they're like, what's the updated tier list for Ogre models or Ogre units considering this season? And this is a reasonable thing to do because it's going to be around for a year, you know? We don't have 6 months of season, we have 1 year of season. And so I guess this is going to last. For all future tier lists that involve rules or like units and stuff, we got, look at all this. Look at all these tiers. We got 1 million of them. I should move this thing. Hold on. There. How about this? Prime mover. There. So now you can see all that shit. Which is probably useful, right? All right. We got triple S tier. Literally too strong. As in, I think it should be nerfed. Like, it's so good that I think it needs a balance. It needs to be balanced. It is actually too good. Next. S tier game wide. Alright, this is a unit that if you zoom out of the book that it's in and cast your eyes across the elephant graveyard, you're like, for what this thing's job is, for what this thing's job is, it's simply one of the best. It defines the faction, it's an auto-include, it allows you to play a certain build, and it's simply one of the best in the game. And then A tier is great, but there is something wrong with it, which is fine. Things probably should have downsides. It's okay. It's okay to have an Achilles heel or a downside. That's another word for balance, right? And this is, A tier is like the it's like the stand-in for S tier if you only consider the faction it's in. This is kind of like an S tier for the faction. This is kind of like an S tier for the whole game, almost. B tier. You have one job. And if the season wants you to do that job, people are going to play you. If the season doesn't want you to do that job, then you are trash. It's a light switch. And this isn't only about seasons. I put it here because it's mostly about seasons, but sometimes something just has a job and you need that job. And it's not always useful, but when it is, you need it, you know. C tier is meme unit or pet unit tier. It's got a lot wrong with it, but you can still play it, and you usually end up playing it in a different way than you're supposed to, or you change your strategy a little bit to allow it to function, and it can still do good work. It's not, no one would accuse it of being great, but you can meat and potatoes your way to having it be useful. Or you're memeing and the meme is actually kind of strong, low-key. But in general, it's not recommended. Then there's the tax tier. It defies lettering system. It is the tax tier. You are forced to take this, you are required to take it, and it's bad, and it makes you sad that you are forced to take it. You don't like it. It actually sucks. But you have no say in the matter. It's simply required. You might be thinking of some battle line choices, probably. But it's not like all battle line go here. Just because you have to take it doesn't mean it goes here. You need both. You need to be required to take it, and it needs to be bad. If you're required to take it, but it's alright, then, you know, maybe we go up here, maybe even up here. D tier is shelf zone. Mostly talking about points, but not always. You're on the shelf. What does the shelf mean? You suck. But someday you might be good. And so you're just waiting. You're waiting for that points reduction. You're waiting for them to change one rule or something. You're waiting for the game to care about something else. But you're in the shelf. You ain't good. Some people might still play you, and then they would have a 2,000 point army with a bad unit in it, and you could still do well. You could still win a tournament. If you're very good, you could still go 5-0 or whatever. If you're good enough, you can win the game with a ham sandwich. There's a lot of skill expression in Age of Sigmar, especially now, probably more than ever, or at least a type of skill. F tier, race to the bottom trash. It's worse than the shelf zone because nothing can save you. If they reduced your points by 50, you still suck. Why? Because you don't do anything. Your war scroll is inherently trash. And the only way they could make anyone play you is by putting your points so low that it sort of breaks the point system of the game. And so this is the Vince Venturella race to the bottom theory. It's trash. Side question, are you not playing Season 1 of D4? I haven't had a chance to play. It's as simple as that. They added the skull things. I was hoping they would add more to the first season. They added, essentially, you get 3 more legendary affixes in exchange for armor. It wasn't like a huge amount of seasonal content, and it ended up that I was just totally busy leading up to the weekend, and then I traveled to Midwest Meltdown, and then I had to catch up on a whole bunch of work after Midwest Meltdown and stream, and then I had another tournament the next weekend, and I just haven't had time to play the game. But it's not a big deal. You can skip a season in a ARPG and then just play the next season. Maybe I'll even make a character if I get some free time. You know? What do the dice mean? This is an old tier list that I made for a video one time. And so the dice are in there. This guy with a trophy rack is in there because that used to matter and it doesn't matter anymore. So some of these I won't be placing out here. I made a tier list so that I could use a video for it. Ahem. So shall we do this in order? We got Hunterman. Blood Pelt Hunter. Now, you might think he goes in B tier, having one job, maybe, and he's seasonal, because you played this guy, or I did. You had a decent reason to play this guy in the Heroes Matter, and one of them can teleport once a turn, or once a game, season. And so this dude, holding on to that particular special artifact, could teleport once a game instead of move. Now, what does this guy do on the opponent turn? If nobody's within 9 of him, he can move on the opponent's turn. Which means, on opponent's turn, he can teleport if he wants, and possibly, like, screw some battle tactic over. That's cool. And he can't be targeted by anything. If he's next to a unit of 3, you can't shoot him. And if he is in terrain, you can't draw line of sight to him. So he's hard to kill. In that season, he was pretty cool. But the reason this guy doesn't belong in B tier is because the next Heroes Matter season, if there ever is one, won't have this guy gets to teleport once a game. It's going to have some other rules. Or maybe they won't do another Heroes Matter season. And so he was in B tier because the specific seasonal, not only the battle tactic, but like got a free magic item, right? What does he really do? He moves on your opponent's turn. That's strong. He is terrible at shooting. You can make him good at shooting, kind of, if you make him your general, which you just don't want to, and you waste a command trait doing it. He's a foot hero that isn't a wizard that sucks at shooting and can only shoot. So I think he's in the shelf. Is his War Scroll good enough to ever be good again? Maybe. I think shelves. I don't think he's raced to the bottom. Even though he can't really shoot very well, he still gets to be untargetable and move on your opponent's turn, which is kind of interesting. And you can technically give him 2-up hits with those crossbow shots if you want to. So I think he is in the shelf zone. And I think he's in the shelf zone, and it doesn't have anything to do with points. This is the exception. I think he's waiting for something in the game to change to make him useful. Yeah, he's 140. But yeah, he's not raced to the bottom. I think you can still be the little silly, interesting tactical plays. Like I think Brandon Maid is talking about. Yeah, he's like a tech piece. You can move him to screen on your opponent's turn. You can shift him. He almost redeploys for free in a way, as long as your opponent is more than 9. So it's the opposite of redeploy. If your opponent moves within 9, he can redeploy. And if your opponent moves but isn't within 9, then he gets to redeploy for free. Right? Except all 8 inches or something like that. So that's kind of interesting. I don't think he's trash. I just think he's the shelf. Then we got Butcher. In Beast Claw, he's probably a meme. In Gutbusters, has one job. And that's cast Hoarfrost or, you know, Blood Feast or something. He's like your average wizard. I don't think he's a good wizard. I don't think he's actually like a good wizard. He's a single caster with a War Scroll spell that's alright. It's alright. Both of the wizards are gamblers. Because if you're playing Gutbusters, you're probably a gambler. Less gambling nowadays, but I think we're both here. So if you're playing only one wizard, you probably take Slaughter. If you're playing 2 wizards, it behooves you to take one of each. Because this guy's War Scroll spell is the Slot Machine. D3 mortal wounds, then roll a die. On a 4-up, you do it again. And so if the dice are hot, infinite damage, holy shit, it's not going to happen. But sometimes you get yourself into a position of a game where your only out is getting really lucky. And so this guy can technically kill anything. And this guy's slot machine that he plays is you roll a d6 in your hero phase, and on a 3 or 4, you have +1 to wound to something. You have a 33% chance, essentially a 5-up chance, at giving a +1 to wound buff, which is a good buff. So you got 2 different slot machines. And besides that, they're, you know, normal wizards, kind of maybe a little pricey. They're paying for the 7 wounds on a 5-up save that they have, I think. And they're kind of fast, 8-inch move, right? Or are you just hearing about the new EQ progression server that came out in May? I don't know. Maybe Dinma's right, they're keeping it from you to save your life from more grinding. Did you see? I did an EverQuest stream. You might have missed it. Like last week or something like that. Shit was cash. It was fun. Kragnos. Is Kragnos great but, or is he S tier game wide? If ever there was a time to have a halfway point, you know? I think he's the best in ogres. I think we get the best value out of him. The 3d6 charges interact extremely well with the impact hits, obviously. He's very difficult to kill. And he does great melee damage on Ren 3. And his best weapon doesn't get any weaker as he takes damage. And he pulses AoE mortal wounds, which can hurt you sometimes. Usually it hurts you and the opponents. We're fine. What are the problems with him? He has 10-inch move and can't fly, so he's slow as fuck. A 700-point god with a 10-inch move that doesn't fly, that if there's terrain on the table in front of him, he essentially skips an entire turn worth of movement. That's brutal. And a 6-up ward isn't very good, but he starts at a 2-up save, and so you can't really complain about it. So those are the downsides. Slow as fuck. Terrain essentially makes you lose your entire turn with him. Mortal wounds just kill him. I think in ogres I'm going to put him S tier game wide. But really low S tier game wide. But I think he matters in the grand scheme of the game. Does make you wish you had a decent way to take Levitate? Yeah, I used to take Levitate, but it was really hard to cast. I would cast it. I took Levitate the first few times I was trying out Kragnos. Firebelly's a meme. I think. Not having the Butcher keyword kind of hurts you in an army that would care about ever taking this guy. His War Scroll spell is trash. Billowing Ash Cloud is pretty good. A nice big aura of -1 to hit. That's good. It's easier to cast than it used to be as well. I don't know how many armies want to just like have this dude casting -1 to hit and like running with all your other guys, but you could do it. I think he's a pet unit. I think he's a pet. He's worse than these two. But his spell lore is kind of nice. It's hard to find a home for him. Because if you're on Gutbusters, he doesn't have access to the Gutbuster buffs, which you want. So you're taking these two. And if you're in Beastclaw, you're either not playing a wizard or you're playing a Slaughtermaster for the +1 to wound. And a spell. And so he's kind of homeless. And if you're going like Blood Gullet, I'm going to play a bunch of wizards, like one of each Butcher and him. He's not getting the Blood Gullet bonus, and that's not a very great army in any case. I think he just kind of doesn't have a home. Because he really doesn't. He's the only Firebelly keyword in the whole game. And, I think they should generally just get rid of him. A lot of people want the Islander Fire Ogre thing to come out. I really don't. They can do that army when they replace all this. After all this, then we can come out with new Ogres if you want. But again, I'd rather have a brand new Destruction army. With, like, it's not an Ogre... It's not another fucking orc army. It's something new and cool. That's what I want for a new Destruction army. I would be very disappointed by just more ogres or just more green stuff. Are you still of the opinion that having to take Craggy means your book is bad? Yes. Yeah, it was a self-own. It was a self-own statement, but it was true. Maybe it's a little not fair for ogres since we synergize with the 3d6 charge so well Whereas all the other destruction armies are just taking him and being like, we can make long charges now, and this guy's a better monster than any of the ones in our book, right? Maybe there's a little bit of extra room for copium as far as ogres are concerned, but yeah. If Kragnos is like the best thing you can do, it means your book is bad. In general. Hot new idea. Ogorux. Yeah. Ogoruxigor. To add to the stupid GW-isms. Him not being a Gutbuster threw you off when you ran him for the first time. Honestly, I would open up PDF, like Adobe Acrobat, and I would delete Firebelly and write Gutbuster. And then he's like fixed. I would just do that. But Frostword on Stonehorn. Is Frostword on Stonehorn S tier game wide? I actually think he is. Let me explain why. Your damage in combat is kind of inconsistent. You're hitting on 4s with your good attacks. Base. You have D6 number of secondary attacks, D6 number of attacks, which is shit, and then D3 damage on top of it, so it's just random, randomy, right? Nobody likes that. But you have 14 move, impact hits for a bunch of mortals. On the charge, you get +1 damage to a bunch of shit, and overwhelming charge is actually overpowered. It's like, if overwhelming charge was on something that was already S tier, this would be like too good. Luckily, it's on an ogre model. So yeah, 14-inch move, fly and pass across stuff, land somewhere. 3 up save is good. -1 to wound it is good in both ranged and melee. The frost spear attacks don't get worse, at least when you're charting him. And yeah, his damage is super inconsistent for the most part, but on the charge, you do double damage. And so if you don't get the charge and he sucks, then get good. Get the charge next time, play better, you deserve it. Which is what I tell myself when I don't get the charge with him and somebody charges me. Well, yeah, he does half damage now. I should have played better. Easy. When you're playing a tempo army, right? Just play better, Forehead. Just don't get charged. Be the one to charge. The issue with Frostlord is the second Frostlord you take is probably here. Like A minus tier or worse. Your first Frostlord gets your 1 good mount trait and gets to do the overwhelming charge, but the one that can't overwhelming charge and doesn't have the good mount trait is like B plus A minus, and the third one is a meme. And when you consider that the second Frostlord is also always +1 drop, I think you very often don't even do it. So that's the issue with him. Is these 2 units right here are carrying the entire faction on their backs, but you can only take one of these, and the second one of these isn't very good. And that's a problem. But having 2 units that are S tier game wide is sick. Alright. Frostlord on Thundertusk, race to the bottom trash. Ground up reimagining, not even a rewrite. We're not waiting for an updated War Scroll. We're not waiting for a tweaked War Scroll. We're not even waiting for a rewritten War Scroll for this guy. We need a reimagining of what it even means to be this guy. He's so bad and always has been. The Thundertusk monster is simply a bad monster. It's crap. It's slow. It doesn't do any damage. Frostwreath Ice is bad. This guy isn't even a priest. He doesn't even have a bird. The job they've given this guy is the same job they gave this guy, except this guy is almost catastrophically worse in every way. And so I have no idea what he's even supposed to do. They keep dropping his points and nothing changes. And when you drop his points every single update for 2 years, and when you talk about playing one, everyone still laughs at you like it's an actual joke, that is what it means to be in the race to the bottom. It's a shame they kicked the can down the road. I was hoping they would rewrite it with our most recent book. They decided not to, and here we are. Isn't he like 400 points? I don't even know. I actually don't know because it doesn't matter, but let me look it up. I played this army for 8 years, and I don't know what he costs now because he's so useless. Hold on. He's 380. Yeah, he's 380 and he is not tempting at that point. This guy has a 10-inch move. 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1/3 with the Frost Spear, and 4 attacks, 3s and 2s, -1d3 for the horns. That's it. That's what he does. Plus Frustrated Ice. What does this guy do? Oh, 14 move. 10 extra attacks. +1 damage on the charge. Ability to overwhelming charge. A 5-up ward. A Frost Spear rule that literally doesn't do anything, but we don't talk about that. Yeah, it's just why. You'd play him at 230, so would I, but at that point his points would be so cheap that you're paying 230 to like get wounds and capture 10 on the battlefield, right? It like breaks the point system of the game, kinda. You would just play 6 of them at that point. Like once you get his points down so low that you just kind of play 6 of them on TTS, you know, that's sort of like the problem. So yeah, he is in need of a total reimagining, just like he was last book, and they decided not to do it. Next up is Frost Sabers. Race to the bottom trash. No redeeming qualities. The model you're looking at here, they come in a unit of 2 for 80 points. They're worse than Dire Wolves, and you get 2 of them instead of 6 or whatever the fuck. 5? I don't know. They're only battle line if you take a bad general. They don't work as chaff because they don't cover enough area on the table to work as chaff. They don't have any rules that matter. And they're 40 points a model, which is outlandishly high. Technically you can put them on the table and then move them, and at some point maybe an opponent has to waste a combat phase to kill them, but every model in the game can do that. So, I don't know. Were they 60 last book? Yes, they went up. Yeah. Yeah. They weren't good, and they went up. Kind of like, you know... I don't know. Dartboard, I'm not sure. Yeah, they're trash. They need to be reimagined. What do you do with this? So, why are they 80 points for 2? Despite being worth probably 20 points for 2. Well... they don't want you to satisfy battle line requirements very cheaply in this army. They want you to, you know, they want you to pay 80 per battle line if you have a hunter general. But the problem with that is they're useless. And so what I would rather have them do is either make them useful by changing everything about them, or if you can't accept that they can be battle line for that cheap, then just make it so they can't be battle line. Noblars can't be battle line either. Just say Frost Sabers can never be battle line, and then you get to make them good, or you can make them cost almost nothing. You could do anything you want. but if you are afraid of us getting battle line for too cheap, well, they're bad. So I don't know. The issue is you can't make it a buff wagon because there's nothing to buff in BCR. Yeah, that's kind of like why the Thunder Tusk. So let's talk about Thunder Tusk versus Stonehorn for a second. Stonehorn has overwhelming charge, overpowered charge. It's probably the best monstrous. Let's see. I think it's the best monstrous action in the game. I think it's better than Roar in a lot of situations, which is kind of amazing. And then you have the Thunder Tusk one, which makes someone fight last. Alright. Well, you could either make somebody fight last, or you could take another Frostlord. So let's pretend this guy buffed something. Do you want a buff wagon who does no damage? Or do you just want to take another, like, monster truck? You probably want to take another Stonehorn of some sort. And so I agree with you, Femonk. I think that's the problem, is making... Like, if you changed all the Thunder Tusks to become buff wagons, it's kind of like, well, what are you buffing? You're paying $350 to buff something that costs $330? Or $420? Or $460? Why not just take two? Why not just have two of them? And now you can go in two different places instead of buff one. I don't know that we have enough models to warrant buff wagons that cost 300 plus points. 300 point buff wagons are great for stuff like Daughters of Cain and Slaves to Darkness and things like that. Well, not even for Slaves to Darkness actually, but whatever. You could do a Sons of Behemoth thing where it has no target limit and it's just like table wide line. You could do something like that so that maybe people play one of them. You could. But you made a lot of different Thunder Tusks, and it would be neat if people would like want to play them in all their different types for some reason. So there's just a problem. These are Gluttons. I don't know enough about Gutbusters. I can look on paper, and maybe I'll do it later. But I'm gonna stick with Beast Claw at this moment. And just get through all that. Frothgorn, some guy, man trapper. You have one job. And that is being in the sky and landing somewhere to get a victory point. He has a deep strike. Everything else on his war scroll, his movement, his attacks, his life, his armor, any other abilities, his friends that show up, ipsum lorem text. It's blank. What he does is he deep strikes from reserve and lands on the table, and then you write 2 victory points on your piece of paper, and that's it. That's what he does. He would be here because he's like mechanically totally worthless, but he has a deep strike. So he lands somewhere and gets you a victory point. That's his job. This season doesn't even do anything this season. Yeah, well, I don't know. If you're desperate for the surround and destroy one so that you can deep strike him on in a corner of a table edge, maybe that'll do something. But he's almost not even worth 2 victory points. That's kind of rough. BT to enable it, you would need to wait a turn because you gotta pick units on the table for it. I didn't even think about that, B-Timmy. I forgore. You can't even do that because you have to pick units on the table. Damn. He really is dog water. Okay, maybe next time you won't have to pick them, technically. I'm gonna put him at the top of the shelf zone. He's waiting. He's waiting to be worth 2 victory points again. Yeah, you know what? Good point. This is why we do these on Twitch. Sometimes the audience gets into it. $180 points to bluff your opponent about your tactic. Yeah, I don't even know. 180 is a lot of points. 180 is a lot. When you consider stuff like, you know, Revenants in Sylvaneth that are Satisfy Battle Line are significantly cheaper than him. You get to pick them, and then they teleport every turn for free anywhere. And then there's this guy that you can't pick. You have to set it up a turn ahead. You're doing mind games. You're paying 80 points extra or whatever the fuck. Doesn't satisfy any sort of requirements. Doesn't do anything. Yeah. Is he really 180? I'm looking it up. He is 180. Holy shit. 180 is so much. Icebrow Hunter. He's the same as Hrothgorn. He does the same thing. Everything on his war scroll is blank. He has no useful abilities. His weapons are terrible, both ranged and melee. All of his abilities are useless. He has terrible armor. He can't fight. He can't survive. All he can do is deep strike. But he costs 60 points fewer than Hrothgorn's Some Guy Man Trapper. He's 120. For 120? Like for 120, maybe. Maybe I'm thinking about some of the stuff you're talking about. Just put him on a point. There's a lot of objectives this season. Even though you have to wait a turn. Is he a meme? This season, this guy's fighting against, like, having a wizard, though. It'll only be 2 units instead of 3. I can get 2 table edges easy. It's the third one that's the trouble, right? Like, he's worse than Hrothgorn, but I don't think he's 60 points worse than Hrothgorn. If something is bad on objectives, does that make them objectively bad? No, KO is a good army. Thank you, I'll be here all night. Alright, I'm questioning... This guy, I'm questioning. Maybe you play him. Well, okay, let's think about my army. Would I put him in? No. God, no. Alright, well, yeah, there you have it. Would I put him in a normal Beastclaw army? No. I'll just do that battle tactic if the game reasonably allows me to. Otherwise, I have plenty of other ones to try. So, yeah, I think he's just shelf. What about your army makes it not a normal Beastclaw army? It has Kragnos in it. And so I have... like no points to... I have no wiggle room for points really to do anything with. A normal Beastclaw army at least has, generally speaking, 1 or 2 options. And the Kragnos one kind of doesn't. You're kind of full up. And so you don't even have 100 points to just spend on some guy. You have like 60 points. Or if you drop down to using Mornfang... you could put something else in, but I think you end up being weaker overall if you do. I was, you know, after the points increase, I was 2010. So I guess that gives a impression of where we're at with like my specific army list. That was 2,010 points after the points increases. So I didn't have a lot of wiggle room. You're willing to take Hrothgorn and Bloodgullet, but you're not looking at any other of the hunters. Yeah, you would. I don't think there's any situation where you'd want more than one different hunter. That's very true. Huskard on Stonehorn is a meme. Is he a meme or is he a shelf? He's so much worse than a Frost Lord that it's like comical. And so you never want to take one. I think you could play one if you were like really desperate, but I don't know that you would ever want to. Yeah, Bioagent, I will press the button. I will do it. I have to think about all Beastclaw lists, not just Kragnos. In a Kragnos one, I think you're maybe even more likely to, I think. I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say pet unit. And not shelf zone. Because he does see... Well, actually, do I care if he sees play, or is this just all my opinion, I guess? I wonder. If I factor in what other people are doing, and some of them are doing well, then he's all the way up into pet unit. If we go for my opinion, he's in the shelf zone. 4 up armor, no frost spear. Like... Just, that's a non-starter. Yeah, he's got prayers. I don't care. They're not very good. He's got a bird. That's like the best thing about him. 400 is crazy for how bad this guy is. I guess I'll put him in the meme. I'll put him in the pet unit tier. Isn't good, costs way too much, is way worse than this guy in a bunch of different ways. But he's technically playable. He still does impact hits on the charge, right? And has a 14 move and is technically a hero. Technically a hero is actually the bad part about him for once. Huskard on Thunder Tusk is also a meme. Pet unit. Which one is more likely to see play? The Thunder Tusk body has nothing going for it. But it can take a mount trait that's good, and your second Stonehorn hero cannot take a mount trait that's good. So, what do you do? Neither of these are very good or exciting or fun, but I think maybe it's so cheap. Oh. Meme ad? Alright. Yeah, the Huskard on Thunder Tusk is 330. 330. This guy has been racing to the bottom, actually. Right? His points just keep going down. And he's still bad because his War Scroll is bad. Maybe he's a pet unit. I just think he doesn't do anything. I mean, I played one in the 3K tournament. I played this guy. He was generally terrible all day. I played him at Adepticon. He sucked. I played him on TTS. He sucked. I played him in the 3K tournament. He sucked. I think he's actually, like, just bad. And people playing him are being like tricked into playing him with mental gymnastics, probably. I think it's an illusion. Even at 330. He's somewhere. I'm gonna, you know what? Let's cut to commercial. And I'll ponder this one. Alright? Thanks for watching. Alright, I think he's shelf. He's at the top of the shelf zone. He's like a little buff wagon bad monster, but he still captures 10, and he still has a good mount trait. And you can take a prayer with him, I guess, even though he's slow as fuck. So put him at 280 or something. Put him at 280, 260 or something, and people might be happy to play him. I know I'm talking like he is raced to the bottom, and he kind of technically is, but I'm going to put him at the top of the shelf tier zone. I have played him a lot. He always disappoints. Always. Next. This thing. It's just like it's free. I don't play with it, even though it's free. I probably should. If I had one, I probably would. I would just backboard it and get +1 to cast on turn 1, and if someone alpha strikes me, I would heal once a game. And then ignore it. It's free. So, it has one job. It has one job, and that job is turn 1 of the game. You get +1 to cast to get your 1 battle tactic. And if you get alpha struck, first of all, you probably lose. Because Beast Claw is very weak to alpha striking. You might not think so, but that's like our Achilles heel, is when somebody alpha strikes us. We get blown up. So you can at least heal your whole army for a D3. You have one job. And sorry to interrupt. Will there be a Gits tier list in the near future, or have you done one already? Looking forward to your Tyrant ranking. Okay. Yeah, the more people make tier lists like this, I'll just do them. Some of the armies I know more about than others, obviously. So I might have to do research or something. But Gits tier list is going to be a lot more fun than the Ogre one. Because a lot of Git stuff is good. Gits, Sylvaneth, OBR, kinda. Slaves to Darkness, kinda. Just a bunch of shit in those books is perfectly playable. And you can go a lot of different ways and do a lot of different things. Those are some of the cool books. So it would be more fun than these, or it would be more of a positive spin. Mornfang in MSU, tax tier, forced, required, and bad. These things are trash, but you have to use them because it's our cheapest battle line without any strings attached, even though they're expensive at 170. They are fast. They can spike enough damage to maybe kill a 5-man battle line unit sometimes on the charge, maybe. Although very unlikely. But there's not a lot of really upsides to it, these guys. They don't cover a lot of they cover more surface area than cats, I guess, but they're still not like a line of 10 guys for chaff, you know? You're forced to play them as chaff, but they're not good. For some reason, the normal squad size, you can't choose any of their weapon, or their, like, you don't get a banner, you don't get a horn. But it's not like those rules are that good. It's just like a stick in the eye. You're more annoyed by the audacity of it than you really care about the rules for them. There's nothing really like terrifically wrong with the Mornfang War Scroll. You know, they got a decent number of attacks. It's 12 wounds on a 4-up save. They're pretty fast. They're just 170, which is way expensive. for what you get. And they don't interact favorably with any of your allegiance abilities, which sucks. They're on 6s for trampling charge, which is trash. They capture 4. You're paying 170 points to capture 4 with them because they don't interact favorably with your large and in charge rule. They die to everything. I don't know. Yeah, they're just very, they've always been too expensive, and they've always been weak for the entirety of Age of Sigmar. I started playing when the first GHB came out, and Mornfang were really expensive and bad, and that's never changed in 3 editions. A unit of 4 is worse than a unit of 2. They're in the shelf zone. I don't think they're in the race to the bottom. I don't think their war scroll is shit enough to be in race to the bottom. It's just their points are out of control for what it is that they actually do. I mean, who wouldn't like a new war scroll, but still. What these guys need is points going down significantly and the ability to use your goddamn allegiance abilities. If they got that, holy shit, you might see some Mornfang being played. Stonehorn Beast Riders. Where do I put Stonehorn Beast Riders? $150 or lower for the Mornfang. I would start at 150. You don't want to go crazy. You know. You don't want to accidentally into everyone spamming them or something. So I would... In the book itself, I would have printed them at 150 and seen what happens. But it was actually crazy that it was weird that they didn't go down in the points adjustment. But I think they didn't go down in the points adjustment because they just looked at the stats and they're like, oh, a bunch of people are using them, so they must be good. You know, I bet that's what happened. They're like, damn, a bunch of BCR armies are using Mornfang, so clearly they're good. Forgetting that it's our only unconditional battle line, and the cheapest one at that. So yes, a bunch of people are using them in units of 2. They're not happy about it. They just have to. Because they're one of the least shitty of a bunch of shitty options. It feels like not a single person in GW plays BCR. That is true, yeah. They don't. Moreover, I don't think anybody plays Ogres either. Last I checked. But, I don't know. You can't have somebody playing every army. There's a lot of armies, right? Stonehorn Beast Riders. What do we do with the Stonehorn Beast Riders? So, they just went up in points. And before I thought they should go down, so they've done the opposite of that, but that's okay. They cannot issue commands to themselves, which is a crippling problem on a 4-up save monster. That ain't good. They're very fast. That is good. 14-inch move, capture 10. That's great. You have 6 horn attacks that hit on 4s that maybe sometimes do 8 damage and sometimes do nothing. So really swingy, really inconsistent damage, even on the charge. If they're not on the charge, they ain't doing anything. Unless you get unreasonably lucky on dice rolls, because they're very random. You got that stupid D6 number of attacks on your hooves again, which sucks. But I don't know, you just play a bunch of them and their impact hits and hope you get lucky on horns that capture 10 and are fast. Like, all that stuff is good. And a ward. I think their downsides are rough, though. They're looking rough. Where do I put them? I think you kind of have to play them. They're not How bad are they, though? It's hard to say. Drops kind of becomes a factor here, because this is an army that needs to really, really care about drops, generally. More so than normal. And the more you care about drops, the more you want Stonehorn Beast Riders instead of Mornfang, because you're not trying to save points on your battle line to play more heroes. Because stacking heroes actually kind of sucks in Beast Claw. Because after the first Frost Lord, you don't have any good mount traits left. So stacking heroes is kind of not great for two reasons. So maybe I put them here. That being said, they don't belong here because they're better than Huskard on Stonehorn for what they do for the army. They're better than all this stuff, and yet they're not very good. What do you do with that? Pet unit. Ahead of this guy. Yeah, they have more than one job. They got two jobs. You charge and you stand, and also you move 14. That's a big one. And standing for 10 is hype. They're not good at keeping themselves alive, obviously. And they, you know, if you have a hero nearby, you can only really fix one of their problems, but I think they're meme. They're a pet unit, and you kind of have to play your pet units. Ogre units are so bad that you just have to play your meme stuff, I think. Thunder Tusk Beast Riders. They are inexpensive. They're 260. They are racing to the bottom, and that's where they belong. I would sooner play these than this, because I have. I think I would even sooner play these than this. Although I would play neither. Yeah, Thunder Tusk Beast Riders. They're down to 260. That's very cheap. They're still bad. I played them at Adepticon. They sucked. I played them at Midwest Meltdown. They sucked. I played them in my 3K thing, and they sucked. I played them all 3 times, though. How could I be playing a unit in the race to the bottom so often? Because it's ogres. Yetis. Once again, another flawed unit. These are 110 now, I think. Yeah. These are 110 for 12 wounds on a 60 millimeter base, or maybe a 50 millimeter, one of the giganto bases. Huge. They're not an ogre, so they don't get any of the ogre bonuses in the book. They capture 1. They don't have impact hits. They don't get +2 move when they're hungry. So they have no allegiance abilities. Also, there's no unit champions, so they cannot issue themselves a command. Same thing with Frost Sabers. Same thing with all the Beast Riders. Yeah, it's 50 for the Yetis. They hit on 4s. Sometimes randomly they can do some damage because they're rend 1 damage 2, I guess. And they have the 6-inch pylon thing, which is very tricky. That's their best thing. The best thing is that they're cheap. They're like your real chaff, kinda. They're only battle line if you take a bad general, which is a downside to them. A huge downside to them. I think they're a meme. Yeah, there's like a million things wrong with them, but you don't have to be that good to be chaff. You have to stand there and you have to have like one good trick. And they have one good trick. And you're cheap. You have to cover some amount of surface area. be cheap, and ideally have one good trick, and they satisfy those. And you have to be battle line. Well, never mind then. But yeah, I think they're a meme. So is the model. Alright, that's all the Beast Claw stuff. So far for 3rd edition, these are my opinions. In the new season for Beast Claw, game-wide S tier. Has one job, maybe seasonal. Kinda sucks, but useful. Pet unit / meme tier. You're not happy really to play any of it, but you don't have any better choices. Beast Riders, Huskard, Yetis, Fire Guy. A forced required tax that's bad to Mornfang. Shelf zone, either because the points are insane, like Mornfang, arguably Hrothgorn, or they only have one job and that job isn't good. And probably won't be good, but might be. And then this thing is just like a flawed War Scroll. The Thunder Tusk monster just needs a rewrite. A reimagining. And you have Race to the Bottom stuff that gets cheaper constantly and is still terrible. Unknown Stobor. Hey, thanks for the big prime. I appreciate it. Thanks for the 27 months. Unknown Stobor. The VOD gamer. Or maybe the lurker. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the long series of months. Nobody's great but, huh? Well, hey, this tier is... I swear, this tier is where most units go in the whole game. Maybe that's... okay. That might be a little aggressive, but that's where a lot of units go. It just doesn't do anything in this particular tier list, that's all. A bunch of Gutbuster stuff, so... ahem. Plan Mo. Converted from a Prime to a Tier 1 sub. The system works. Hey, thanks a lot, I appreciate it. Thanks for the sub. You know, thou shalt not suffer an advertisement to be watched on Twitch, is how I feel. Not even one. So anyway, please enjoy the emotes and stuff. I don't play Gutbusters, so I don't intimately know them from a playing them kind of point of view. But I could still do... I could just put them on the tier list, I suppose, if I felt like it. Has one job, but has to start off the table. So it's with all the other just one job guys that are trying to find one victory point somehow, but it's the cheapest one, so it's the best one. Way better than all these. This is 90 points, I think. Gorgers are 80 points. And so if you want a thing that can land somewhere and be the third table edge for your battle tactic and stand on an objective that no one else is at, maybe, or something like that, this guy's the cheapest by a lot, and so he's the best. And these, all three of these, like, pale in comparison to this. And still, I think he's probably in the shelf zone, but maybe not. He could be a meme. Gluttons just got a lot cheaper. I think they're still pet, though. I think the entire army of Gutbusters is in the pet unit tier. Probably go there. Gluttons. If you are taking a min-sized unit, you take Gluttons. If you are planning on reinforcing, you take Iron Guts. And that's how they decided to differentiate the two jobs of these very similar units. They cost the same. They have roughly the same durability. They have the same movement. If you do the math, they do very similar damage. Yeah, these units are so similar that it really comes down to if you're not reinforcing, you take these, and if you are, you take these, and that's probably it. Their points just went down more than I thought they would, and that was the right choice. I still think they're probably expensive for how fair and square the rest of the army is. But, yeah, I think we're memeing it up. You can slap, like, you can do a shitload of damage, that's for fucking sure. But it's never a surprise. You're calling your shot. Like, you put 8 Iron Guts on the table, and your opponent's like, okay, those guys there are moving 8 inches a turn, and there's nothing to worry about until they get to me. They won't be teleporting, they won't be running and charging, they won't be getting a charge bonus, they won't be striking and fading, they won't be projecting power, or casting a spell, or flying over anything. They'll just be walking forward, and then eventually they're going to charge, and then they're going to do a shitload of damage, unless I charge them first. And so that's kind of what Gutbusters are about, at least the foot ones. I actually think, as an aside, that if you try to like make their points roughly equivalent to some other armies for whatever they get for their amount of points or something like that, if you try to do that, I think you should round down a lot for Gutbusters for the most part. Latino Hot, who is a real person, says they should be 200 in your opinion, and I don't disagree. These two units should be downright like undercosted. Like, everybody should look at these and be like, damn, those are undercosted. I think these are, you're getting too much for what you pay, is what other people should say, I think. Because the army that they're in, Gutbusters, doesn't do anything. It has no tricks, no secrets, no surprises, can't fling anyone, no delivery methods. You just walk up. And kind of because of that, I think their guys should be like extra efficient on points, just to kind of give you something. Lead Belchers are bad, but they're among your cheapest battle line, and so sometimes people take them. They're not required. I don't know if they're forced and required, but they are a tax, and they are bad. So here we are. They can't shoot, they can't fight, their save sucks. Yeah, I don't know. Technically they're battle line. It's a cool idea to carry cannons around. I wish they shot like it. Gutbuster Pot is up here with, you have one job. It's better than the BCR one, because you're going to use it possibly more. Maybe. Man-eaters are... I feel two ways about man-eaters. So, man-eaters are trash. But they're down to 150. So, if you take a Gutbuster General and make it so that man-eaters can be battle line, technically they're your cheapest battle line. And also you take these guys as battle line too. Because even though it's a hero, that it's also battle line because it's a man-eater. So if you want the cheapest battle line possible in Gutbusters, that's a cool combo. Right? It saves you some points. However, I don't think you're trying to cheap out on battle line in Gutbusters anymore. Because these guys are 40 points away, maybe, from being almost reasonably costed. You were trying to cheap out on battle line when cannons were good, but cannons are way too expensive, and they changed the rules of the game to make them worse. And so since you're not trying to do that, I think they're just in race to the bottom. They're awful. They keep getting cheaper. These guys are awful. They do nothing. You just take them to have bodies, I guess, to have a person somewhere. Noblars, at one point, Noblars were great. Because they were 100 points, and sometimes did a D3 mortal wounds. When all 20 of them were dead to a man. And they were in great butt tier. Like, they're great, but they're not battle line. Then their points went up. And then they printed zombies. And nothing made sense in the world anymore. The world was turned upside down. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So they have one job. They have one job, and it is standing in front of your guys and dying. And doing maybe a D3. For 120. Which is a little more than you want to pay. And not battle line, which is... that hurts. It was okay that they weren't battle line when they were cheaper, I think. But... and also the army that they were really, really good in, because they were protecting cannons, kind of got blown up, so... They released zombies after they nerfed Noblars. Yeah, they did. And then they made skeletons go up by like 60 points. They made skeletons go way up in points, but not zombies. I mean, they did change the rules on zombies. Let's be fair here. They did change the rule. They nerfed them. So there is that. Scrap launcher is just... There's no reason to ever have a scrap launcher, and there's no reason to ever need one ever. In the future, even. Like, let's pretend clouds of 40 zombies, clouds of... something happens to Gloomspite Gits, and so now they're just taking 40 Stabbas in every list, right? And Cities of Sigmar comes out, and you're using clouds of 20 Free Guild Guard times 3, or like, the massive regiments of 1st edition all come back. You still don't want this thing. It's the ultimate race to the bottom. Tyrant is a meme, for sure. Is he more than a meme? I played the meme list with him because I wanted to see. You know, the Brawler Guts, Meat Fist Tyrant. 3 up mortal wounds on the charge. I ran like 4 of him in Kragnos, and every dude I charged with was doing 10 mortal wounds on the charge was average. It was like the average roll. The fucking gunshots meme every time they charged. It was hilarious. Is it more than a meme, do you think? I don't know. Any Gutbuster players? Do you play one of these guys and you're like, click, click, boom? You take out your fucking Walkman with a cassette tape in it and you play Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, and then you like charge with your Tyrant. Do you do that in like a normal list too? They don't fight very well. Like, he doesn't fight very well, but... Dude, Brawler Guts Meat Fist is actually good, I think. I think it is a meme. It's a meme that is good. The dice are literally too strong, because in my 3-round 3K tournament, my dice were hot the entire time. And now I gotta put these in a fishbowl and see if they're like weighted or something. Is Games Workshop fixing my dice? Literally no, because I used these in Adepticon. I got smashed the whole time and rolled bad. But still, you know, that's how negativity bias works. Ironblaster. It's great, but it's way too expensive, and they changed the rules of the game to make it worse. So what do we do about it? $200 probably too much for these after the changes, I think. This season you're probably not casting Blubber, right? Like, if you have 4 of these around a Butcher and he's about to cast Blubber Grub Stench, your opponent is just picking up all of their primal dice and saying, alright, here we go. Unbind that one. And then they're like, you know, the trick is gone. The thrill is gone. Shift it back down to 180? Maybe. This is a weird unit. It started out obviously too cheap and everyone knew it. But it probably went up too much. It probably went up too much and then rules changed and other stuff went up and other stuff went up. Just like everything, every unit that single army list played went up. That mattered. Like the army went up by like 160 or some nonsense, and so you just couldn't play anything like it anymore. The downsides to Iron Blasters are you're a million drops, which is bad. And they cost too much and the rules changed. Is that enough to bring them out of Great? I think yeah. You have one job and it's shoot. Your close range shots are better, so you do want to kind of get them within 12, I guess. But I don't know, maybe only as a last resort. Like, you get them within 12, shoot them, and then you just charge them. You're not trying to, like, sit there. And then Trophy Rack is dead, so we keep it down here. Alright, is this what I'm looking for? The dice are too strong, they're too good. Kragnos and Frostwood on Stonehorn are S tier game wide. The first one. These are normal chaff. Sucks that they're not bad line, but okay. 2 normal wizards, train features that do a thing, and then you don't. You got some memes. / pet units that are all of these are basically too expensive. Except these. These are not too, these 2 aren't too expensive. They're just like weird fundamental problems with them. Everything else, maybe this guy isn't too expensive, but these are. These guys are. For sure these 2 are. This one, just give him a 3-up save. I don't know. And then these are bad taxes. This shit kind of sucks, and these are raised to the bottom. This might not look great, but you can go 3-0. Got him. And there's a bunch of Ogre players probably who are going 5-0 here and there. I believe our win rate at this moment is 49%. Last time I looked, a few weeks ago I looked, and Ogres were on 49%, and that was before the points changes. So the Beast Claw lists went up a lot, and the Gutbuster lists went down. So Maybe we just stay there. Maybe we're the ultimate 50-50 army. If one army is going to be in the fat middle, it might as well be the fat boys, right? I look forward to the 4th edition book, where hopefully they do more than one thing. All right. Is there any more content? Like, somebody posted this. Hold on. I'm about to terrify everyone. Somebody posted this in Discord. And they're like, hey, I got a tier list for you, buddy. I'm like, oh, word? Okay. Jesus Christ. Every superpower ever? I don't know if I have 5 hours, chat. Someday I may do that tier list. But that day is not today. I'm actually like kind of excited to do it, but it's really off topic and it's going to take a really long time. I want to do it. All the options are doubled. Oh, so they're okay. Oh, maybe even they might even be tripled. You should have time to complete it during a Seraphon player's hero phase. Good meme.